That might help. Good morning. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do more Quora. So happy. Okay, the question posed. Would ladies be okay with having a trans woman come into the ladies' room while they are in there? My answer. I'm not comfortable with anyone coming into the bathroom after me. Not a fan of people in general, but that's a me issue and not a them issue. No, I wouldn't have any problem with a trans woman coming into the ladies' room whilst I'm in there. She has to pee the same as the rest of us, and the ladies' room is where she's supposed to do her business. Live and let live, I always say. Except for those few outliers like Jessica Yaniv, who claim to be trans but really aren't. They're just creepy men who think that they can get a pass with claiming to be transgender so that they can, skulk the bathrooms, scope out the ladies kind of thing. And those are very, very, very few. Trans women are women. Whether they still have their original equipment below the waist, they are still women. In mind, heart, body, and soul, they are women. They just, sometimes the package outside doesn't reflect the package inside. It is who you are inside that counts. Whether you're kind, whether you're benevolent, whether you're vicious, whether you're nasty, whether you're psychopathic, whether you're sociopathic. It's all internal, here and here. This is just surface crap. All right? This is just what the face that you're born with. And it hides a lot. A lot. It hides bigotry. It hides racism. It hides hatred. It hides vengeance. It hides fury. It hides a lot. It hides depression. Robin Williams is a perfect example. Always smiling, always laughing. More so in his later years when he started suffering from Lewy body dementia, and he got to the point where between the depression and the dementia, he just couldn't do it anymore, and he took himself out. Chester Bennington suffered for years, suffered silently for years with being sexually abused as a young person. And his songs reflect that. His songs reflect how he felt about himself, how he felt about the person who did it and other people around him who didn't pay attention to it, and how he felt about the world in general. And he got to the point where, because his only support in this world, Chris Cornell, took himself out for the same kind of depression. It's just insidious. He didn't have anybody he could turn to. And so he did what he did because the pain was just too much. And there was no one there who could understand. That's inside. Outside doesn't show it for most people. And so with trans people, their outside does not show who they are in here, okay? So just, live and let live. Moving on. Okay. Okay. Assuming you must observe people, places, and events in order for them to be rendered, what are some potential reasons why people tell you stories about themselves and others which, due to your non-observation, could not have taken place? Here's someone who seems like they might be dealing with some sort of issues, psychological issue. My answer: why would you assume that the stories they tell you wouldn't have taken place just because you weren't there to witness it? Entire histories of a multitude of civilizations have taken place without your observations. It sounds like you might have reference delusions, where unless you personally witnessed it, then it didn't happen, no matter what someone else actually, no matter that someone else actually experienced it. You could also be suffering from obsessive compulsive disorder or anxiety. This statement smacks of something called magical thinking, where the world outside your own personal view doesn't exist or operate. Unless I have empirical evidence that information someone is giving me is a bald-faced lie, I will listen and accept that what they've told me from their own observations is true, that it actually happened. I don't need to physically see something happening for it to have happened. As for the question, people like to share their experiences with others as a way to find common ground or as a way to share a little of themselves with someone else. We are a product of our life experiences, whether they be good or bad, and often sharing those experiences helps us put them into perspective. Sometimes we want to share a piece of ourselves because we think it might entertain someone else to hear about the clusterfuck we had at work, or that damn ticket we earned for driving way too fast for the conditions. It's a way to let others know that we're not perfect either, and that everyone has a bad day sometimes. We share our losses and our grief with someone else to let them know that we understand how they feel because we've gone through the same thing. Sharing our life experiences with others helps us and them understand that we're not alone in this world, that we all have a common ground on which to stand, and that there shouldn't be no reason that we can't get along with each other if we're experiencing the same joys, sorrows, heartaches, excitement, and celebrations that they may have. It's baffling to me that people continue to discount everything that other people have experienced, that other people have witnessed, that other people have lived through, because they themselves didn't experience it. Bible thumpers is a good example. They want to somehow point out that anyone who's not white and Christian is somehow subhuman, that they couldn't possibly experience the same ups and downs, joys and sorrows that the Christians have. And yeah, live through slavery, be someone who's thought to be subhuman, sold from person to person, beaten, starved, raped, and worked to death, and then tell me that they haven't suffered. Please. Be people who used to roam the land freely in this country and then suddenly didn't because the white assholes from across the ocean decided they wanted the land instead and pushed you away, killed, slaughtered thousands of different tribes of First Nations peoples in this country just to steal the land. Yeah, these are experiences that you've never had, and you can't discount them because you've never had them. They existed. People have written histories about this kind of stuff. It exists. It happened. Deal with it. Why do some individuals have difficulty with social interaction, although having good qualities? Is it because good qualities do not guarantee social acceptance and abundant interaction? My answer: being social is a learned behavior, and there's some psychological and emotional investment in it as well. People who have difficulty being social are most likely introverts. They're not comfortable around a lot of people and are awkward in social situations. Some of that stems from their childhood. If their parents were not involved with people outside the immediate family, chances are good that at least one of those kids wouldn't be comfortable interacting with others either. My dad. Their school experiences could also be a factor in their reluctance to expose themselves to crowds. If they were bullied a lot as kids, they'll be reluctant to trust that as adults they won't receive the same sort of treatment from other adults. And it does happen. Family dynamics like abuse or humiliation at home could also affect the way that they interact outside the unit. Having what you term good qualities has no real bearing on whether or not they're willing or able to be social butterflies. And yes, being awkward in social situations would almost guarantee that they wouldn't be accepted by the general crowd. Because people who get together like that enjoy the give and take that with the people to whom they're relating, and an introvert lacks those skills. Introverts have been exposed to uncomfortable crowds and situations for a long time, and they're not willing to put themselves in those situations if they can avoid it. You are your parents to a greater or lesser degree. Your behaviors are learned from the examples your parents gave you, the examples your relatives gave you, the examples the teachers gave you, the examples other kids gave you. Kids internalize all that. They see, they observe, and they internalize. And then as they get older and learn more and experience more, they learn how to compartmentalize all that, to select what they choose to be as part of their personality and to get rid of or put away what they don't. If they don't have a whole lot of really good examples, chances are good they're going to be standoffish, they're going to be introverted, they're going to be isolationist because they didn't have good experiences with people growing up. It's just the way it is. That you can do therapy, talk therapy, to help you decompartmentalize some of that and maybe get rid of it, or at least put it away for good so it's not in the back of your head all the time. You can learn through different types of therapy how to interact with other people in a more acceptable manner, in a more social situation, if you're willing to invest the time and effort. But a lot of us introverts just don't feel like investing the time or the effort. I've had way too many people treating me like shit for too long to want to have to, put in the effort for something that might possibly give me the smallest little dividend. No. So it is what it is. It's just the way we are. How was your experience in growing up with people that don't understand you? My answer: the incubator walked out on my brothers and I when we were very young. Dad was stationed overseas in Vietnam at the time. When he came home for us, it was just me, the only girl, and 3 males. As a child, things were relatively easy. I was bullied by older girls in school, and they would spell curse words for me to say. They would say, "What does Fuck spell?" And I'd say, "Fuck." "Oh, I'm going to tell." I do remember that. At 5 years old, I do remember that. Yes, I was dumb. I'd go home and ask my dad what those words meant and would get slapped across the face and told to never use those words. I didn't until I left the house as an adult. Being the only girl was hard. I had no female role model to show me how it was done, so I grew up a massive tomboy. Climbed trees, running, baseball, the whole shebang. Other than the occasional beatings, both from my dad and the numerous babysitters we had, life was pretty much okay. Then we moved into a rundown house Dad bought next to an Italian family. My youngest brother got together with their youngest boy, and they became the best of friends. The woman developed an inappropriate crush on my dad and would do whatever she could to get into his good graces. For my youngest brother, she bribed him. When he asked for something and Dad said no, she would buy it for him, undermining my dad's authority in the family. This resulted in the brother becoming spoilt and unreasonable. My middle brother couldn't give 2 shits about the woman or her family. And me? Well, she thought she could be a replacement mother figure for me, and I resented it very, very much, as did her eldest daughter. I became the delivery owl for her, taking letters and cards she had written to my dad to him. She would also, because she was ultra religious, thou shalt not covet, don't you know? She would tell me horror stories about religious, righteous women doing sinful things and being punished for it. One example she gave was a Sunday school teacher went to see The Exorcist so she could talk to her class about Satan, and she subsequently became possessed. She would tell me about the different ways I would know that Satan had gained control of my world, and one of those was that my dog would start talking to me. I was 8, 9 years old, people. Give me a break. Give me a break. I was, yeah. It goes hand in hand with the previous question as far as what influences you growing up that you, yeah. I was a stupid kid, and I let her influence me, and she actually messed me up emotionally pretty badly. I became terrified of my dog, and I destroyed what would have been today a priceless collector's item. My dad bought me Kiss's Double Platinum when it first came out. And with those stories rattling around in my head, and the makeup they were wearing, excuse me, daughter just got up, had to close the door. And the makeup they were wearing, I thought they were real demons. There was one song they had called Hotter Than Hell. And I thought that the only way that they would know that is if they'd actually lived there. My favorite song off the album, however, was Parasite. Love that song. Not a huge fan of Kiss. And not because of this, because I grew up. But they're overrated. They're overrated. They've got some good music, but they're pretty much overrated. Eventually, her husband cottoned on to the emotional and possibly physical affair they were having and told her that they were moving, that if she didn't come with them, he would burn their house down with everyone, burn our house down, my bad, I'm sorry. He did. He threatened to burn our house down with everyone in it. He was so pissed off at what she was doing. Once she'd left and others moved in, her influence waned to a great degree, and I was able to think for myself for the first time in a long while. But puberty kicked in with a vengeance, and my mood darkened rather drastically. Undiagnosed clinical depression. These wide mood swings confused my dad and left me in the weeds with no one who understood and no one to whom to talk. I was tasked with taking over as babysitter for my brothers, and when Dad was home, I spent all my time in my room, reading and listening to music. Anytime I tried to talk to him about how I was feeling, about the crushing loneliness with which I was suffering, his response would be, "Well, what do you want me to do about it, kid?" I didn't want answers. I wanted someone to listen and understand, someone who would tell me that this too shall pass. So to answer your question, it was difficult being surrounded by family who couldn't or wouldn't try to understand how I felt. I spent a lot of that time riding the suicidal edge and had made a few attempts before the hormones finally leveled out some. The depression never really went away for a very long time. It's still there. It's still there. But I learned to hide it rather well. To put on that shiny, smiley mask to hide the fact that I was dying inside every day. Up until that mood disorder had sunk its claws into my brain, I was sleeping through the night with only an occasional weird dream. After the depression took hold, my dreams had always been strange and scary. I stopped soundly sleeping through the night and developed an intermittent insomnia, which I still have to this day. I take over-the-counter sleep medication to help me sleep, and I'll get 4 hours before I'm up, turning over, and then the last 2 or 3 hours before I actually get up, I'm drifting in and out. It sucks when people you thought you could rely on for answers and understanding just couldn't manage to offer either. That your struggles with an undiagnosed mental illness It was the 70s, and depression wasn't a commonly recognized disability, especially in teenagers, were basically ignored, chalked up to puberty or being a girl or that time of the month or just being moody for no real reason. I still have issues with not being understood. I'm more or less a loner, comfortable enough in my own skin not to want or desire company, and far too many people place a premium on being able to be social at the drop of a hat. I don't like being touched, and I'm not a hugger. However, my son-in-law's relatives are the tactile sort, and I have to warn them that I'm not a hugger when they're reaching for my shoulders to pull me in. But I take it all in stride. I'm 62 years old, soon to be 63, and I like who I am and where I'm at now. It was a long, hard road to get to this point, but I wouldn't trade any of my experiences for anything because they're what made me who I am today. There are avenues out there for people suffering from depression or who are confused or lost. There are now online resources. You can do Zoom talks with therapists, and it won't cost you quite as much, if anything. There are some free sites out there, but it won't cost you quite as much because you're not, taking up resources visiting an office. It's just face-to-face like this. Take advantage of them as much as you can. If you're not comfortable with doing the therapy route, YouTube and the internet also has resources where you can do self-help kind of stuff. But just find your way out of the weeds. However you can, find your way out of the weeds. But just remember, just know that it never really goes away. It never really goes away. Medication helps a whole lot. And I was on medication for a while for it after my father passed. My father and my brother passed away back to back. And then again after my husband passed away. So I've been on antidepressants, and it helps. It does. But as I've gotten older, I've developed an immunity to medications now. Antibiotics still work for sure. But anything psychological, anything to deal with leveling out chemicals just doesn't work anymore. So yeah. One more. Why do people avoid and ignore you when they know they've been caught lying to you? My answer: because they know they've been caught lying and don't want to face the consequences. People, as a general rule, will tend to avoid confrontations when they're in the wrong. Most of the time, they don't believe they've made a mistake or inflicted some sort of damage on you, and avoiding talking about the very thing that they did that hurt you will let them believe they did nothing wrong. Acknowledging that mistake, that lie, will force them to confront the fact that they were the ones that made the error and not you for being the victim of their unkind words. People suck. That's been my opinion for a very long time. People suck. We have the capacity for great kindness, great love, great benevolence, and we also have the capacity for horrific cruelty and viciousness, and yeah, we suck. We are the only creature other than monkeys from whom we're supposed to be related, and it shows. We are just about the only creatures on this planet who indulge in cruelty for cruelty's sake. We're mean because we can be. We're nasty because we can be. Internet bullying, all kinds of issues with people making accusations that aren't true and then garnering a following of people who believe the accusations, and then the people who are trying to defend themselves from the this is the greatest thing in the world to hide behind. You can be whatever kind of shitty ass person you want with a fake name and a throwaway email address or a throwaway Twitter tag, and be as nasty and as ugly and as vicious and as disgusting as you want to be without getting caught, without being called on for it. Things have changed since since the internet first came out. Things have changed a lot. There are laws against cyberbullying in a lot of countries because of the resultant suicides caused by this kind of nastiness. And if you collect evidence and the screen names and the computer addresses and that kind of stuff, they can backtrack. If it's vicious enough, if it's ugly enough, if it's slanderous enough, you can submit it to the cybercrimes people, and they'll backtrack that to its source because they now have the ability to do that. But my advice to you, for anybody who's been a victim of that kind of stuff, don't do social media. It's as simple as that. I know I'll probably get a lot of flack for these videos, and I don't care. I don't give two shits what you think. I don't live with you. I don't work with you. We don't share meals. We don't share our lives in any way, shape, or form except through this little square box. So I don't care what you think, what you say. Have at it. Shred me. Get yourself it won't bother me at all. I've been through it all most of my life. So have fun. So with that, we will end this video because it's getting a little long, and I shall see you tomorrow. I'm going to be changing my video setups, so you're going to see some of them disappear and then they'll reappear because I'm going to redo them with the right way because I'm YouTube, and anywho, I shall see you next time.